Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 5 of 3 Feet from Gold, based on the book by Reid and Sharon Lechter. My name is Jeremy Murphy. I'm a positivity running and health coach in Lincoln, Nebraska, and creator of the Positivity Patrol.
I'm Sharon. I'm a motivational speaker, a published author, and a navigational coach. And today is very, very exciting because on the talking point today, we're talking about formulating the formula for success and passion. That is one of my favorite things to talk about.
They are great subjects, and they do weave well together, which explains why we've woven them together for purposes of this show.
I agree fully. Yeah.
But yes, they are great topics. I agree. Let's see. Before we get into the substance of the show, we have some preliminary housekeeping we want to do. And I will click this into a square. I should explain, as we've explained in the previous shows, we did obtain consent of the Napoleon Hill Foundation to utilize the title 3 Feet from Gold in this blab and to cover this material in this book. And they did give us their consent and permission, and they asked us to read this notice or provide it as part of the show. So here it is. 3 Feet from Gold is used with the consent of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. However, the foundation has no control over and does not endorse the blab.im platform or content. To learn more about the Napoleon Hill Foundation, go to www.naphill.org. So if you check out that website, you can find out all about the Napoleon Hill Foundation. They're doing wonderful work throughout the world in inspiring others on all kinds of platforms and just providing little meaty messages of quotes from Napoleon Hill too. So check them out. They're doing great work throughout the world.
This is the book. This is 3 Feet from Gold.
Right.
Okay, Jeremy, today we're talking about formulating success, and we cannot talking about formulating success without having to share the story of Jack Mates. Do you have any recollection of the story of Jack and how the formulating success is applied to him and to all of us?
Yes, Jack was the creator, inventor of Velcro, which is found on all kinds of products today. And it is, in fact, it's so universal. It's just one of those things we take for granted because it's so useful. But they were testing this product and they noticed that, I guess the way that I think he came up with the idea was noticing that dogs, when they walk through a field, they pick up all these cockleburrs, and the cockleburrs stick to the dog's fur. And then we as dog owners have to go back and remove those cockleburrs from the dog. But it gave him the idea for creating a mechanism that would hook, and so it would be adhesive with the material that you're trying to get it to stick to. And so that concept was tested. They found the right hook that appeared to work. And so, and this was kind of a far out idea, Jack. There really wasn't anybody else doing this. He went out on a limb to make this happen and mortgaged his house to do it in order to pay his staff and fulfill his dream. And also trying to find people in about 5 different industries, at the top of 5 different industries, that would buy into this idea. And so he found that by selling the idea to 5 of these people, in fields like medicine, defense, I can't remember the aeronautics or, people dealing with airplanes, just getting all these people to realize that this was an important invention that could be used for all kinds of purposes. And when those 5 people bought into it, the idea just became wildly successful because they saw the use for the idea and it caught fire.
Jeremy, ideas. We all have ideas. I mean, sometimes that I can sit 1 hour, I can generate a dozen of ideas. How can Jack have some idea? Is that the only ideas? And what make him follow through that in order to have a success of Valco?
Well, I think the thing that really helped the idea achieve success was that he had a passion for this. He had a deep down passion that was deep inside him, not just something external. It was internalized. It was a part of him, and he could visualize it and see it. And he was persuasive when he met with these people that really were making the budget decisions. He was very persuasive with them, and they saw the usefulness and started thinking of other uses that Jack hadn't thought of. And that's really what it was, the passion, I think, that really made that possibility. He was able to capture the leaders and corner the market. Instead of just following the leader, he had a captive audience with these 5 leaders of these industries and was able to persuade them this is an important idea or product that could really help you and have all kinds of uses. And it was going to be a money saver, a time saver, just a smart thing to do. And, even Velcro's universal even on clothing now, to clasp sleeves and coats and all kinds of things like that. So he was able to get capture these leaders as a captive audience, hold their attention, persuade them, and then once they bought into the idea, they thought of all kinds of other uses for it. And it was just an amazing success story.
That is a great segue go into the formulating for success. Because as you mentioned earlier, we're talking about Jack passion, and the winning success, the combination of passion and with talent, and then you partner with the right people, the right association, and take that massive success. Take the massive action in order for him to formulate his success formula.
True.
How can one beginning to know what is their passion or their talent, and how can you find the right association to collaborate with, and what action do you must take in order for you to derive to the destination that you envision?
Well, these are great questions, and just as a visual aid, here is the success formula. And it's rudimentary. I just did it with a Sharpie marker, but the P represents passion, the T represents talent, the first A is having the right associations, and the second one is the action. So having the combination of these is what enables people to have success. But really, some of it is listing what you might have a passion for. So there's some brainstorming that goes on with really figuring out what our passion is, what creates that internal fire and excitement for doing things that are meaningful and helping people. And that's just a part of it, though. We have to think about what our talents are, and sometimes our talents may not always intersect with the passion. And so we have to figure out what all of our talents or strengths are, and sort of figure out, maybe what the top 3 or 5 of them are, and then start looking at where the passion and talent can intersect. And reinforce each other, strengthening really the gifts that we have and allowing them to be transformative and helping people. And with associations, there's just all kinds of quotes over the 5 people that are closest to you have a huge impact on really your success. And maybe it's not just 5 people, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 2. But really making sure that these are people that are going to lift us up and encourage us, help us, and find ways that we can help them. So it becomes a cooperative, interactive association that's going to produce positive fruit.
Okay, so it's fair to say that with your formula, can you show the formula up again?
Sure.
Okay, so it's fair to say that do what you love and
Right.
and you what you're good at, and find the right people to collaborate with, and take the right action to get to the law of success. You agree
Right.
with that?
Yes, and the action may be incremental. We have to realize that we can't always take one action and achieve success. It may take 5 or 500 steps to really reach the success at the level that we're talking about.
Okay, so so first of all, do what we love,
Yes.
and be good at it, and find the right people to collaborate with,
True.
and take the right actions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so it is simple enough, right?
It is. It is a simple equation. Yes.
It's
Simple mathematics. Simple mathematics isn't always possible, but it's pretty simple compared to some equations that I've seen.
You know, I die to learn about your story. Tell me, your passion, and what what motivates you to do what you do.
I have found through a life of many twists and turns that my passion is to really help people transform their lives through positivity, health, and running, making healthy choices. That wasn't always the case. I mean, I used to be an active attorney. And so, for more than 21 years, that I thought that was my passion. The law was my passion. It was my chief passion as far as work was concerned. And I just, at some point, it felt like my situations were occurring where people were finding themselves in chaos and catastrophes, and I was being asked to help them. And I found pulled to that. I found pulled to that instead of practicing law. And so my passion became really being the calm within the storm for people. And I'll use an example. I thought of an example from my practice of law that led to this idea later. But I had clients I was a bankruptcy lawyer, and my clients were hit within 2 months. They were hit by Hurricane Katrina and then Hurricane Rita.
Wow.
And I realized to have something catastrophic like this happen, I really have to be the calm within the storm for these people. I have to be the eye within the hurricane, so to speak, and really help stabilize these people, comfort them, and be a good counselor. So I found that counseling really has become that's really where my talent lies. And it intersects now with my passion has become more helping people make healthy choices, having the right mindset with positivity, and trying to achieve success in running and in life through whatever ways that we can.
Wow, I like that. I like that very much, Jeremy, because you are in one place, and from that place, then you start to see the world in different lens, and then you want to have a different passion. And I'm glad that you follow passions, and because that leads to our associations, correct? True. You and I met just because of that.
Yes.
And I don't have my passion when I came here and with children, and my passion is just to guide, protect, and be counsel to my children. And so that is my passion of my children, to raise a good citizen of this great country, and for them to be a good people, for themselves, for their own spouses, and for their community. And that's what that's what I have done. But then after my children grow older and they have their life of their own, and I start to look into almost like the emptiness, and I don't know what where I'm going to go from here. And I just remember my journey, and I was survived to tell story. So that's why I'm a motivational speaker, because when I deliver, I'm known for as the evangelist for hope. Because when I speak or when I even scope, I'm talking about the message of hope, encouragement, and empowerment. And, through my journey, I don't just read the story. I don't share the story. I share the story of my life. And, just when for people want to give up in life and they just say, wow, I have to gone through so much, to hear my story, give them a different perspective, when they look into their own life with a different perspective. And that's what I love about my job. My passion is to help people, to inspire people to do what they want to do. And I think that I have a talent to tell the story. And definitely I know my purpose, and that what is and again my association, I go through the training to speaking, and to associate with you, and we tap on the power of the internet, the blab, the Periscope, and everything that available to us, because I want to get my message out.
Yes, and I don't think there's anyone who speaks about hope better than you do, Ha. I've heard a lot of people speak about it. It's not spoken about enough, but I really I've learned a lot about that virtue just by listening and watching you. So thank you for that.
Because when you hang on the live, just like you hang on the cliff by the tip of your fingernails, and you must have hope and faith in order to survive. And I have cashed in all that hope and faith that brought me to where I am today.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So, and then we're talking about the next chapter. We talk about passion, and as you loudly pronounce your passion as well as my passion. And in the book, we talk Craig talking about Julie Coyne, who is the jockey. Do you remember the story that he mentioned in the book?
Yes, there was a woman who wanted to be the first female jockey, and it was a male-dominated sport at that point. And so
definitely, yes,
people were just writing her off and saying, "Don't even try." And one gentleman went so far as to say, "You will never ride a race on one of my horses, never."
and I don't know about you, but if somebody say to me that never, I certainly want to prove how wrong they are.
Right. Yeah, tell me that I can, and I'll prove that I can. Right.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it too.
And I love about her passion, because she get in many accidents. She broke every bone in her body, but she continued on to pursuing that. And then if you don't talk about passion, I don't know what you're talking about. She has passion for the profession that she chooses.
Yeah, and that breaking bones is painful. I've only broken a toe, but I bruised ribs from falling from running, and to be able to bounce back like that and be able to really focus on your goal or objective and rise above that's the amazing thing about someone that can sustain that many injuries and still come back and achieve amazing success.
And I think that at the airport, and Craig recognized Julie because of the sport illustration. She was one on the cover, and also recognized by the USA as one of the first female on the at the jockey. Correct?
Yes, he did, and she was a little bit surprised. There weren't a lot of people, I don't think, that recognized her frequently, but she did have widespread acclaim as someone being on the cover of Sports Illustrated at that point.
Yeah, and then I if like you said, if somebody just breaking every little bone on her body just because of that, but it didn't stop her from pursuing it. I just thinking that her passion is just like we will all say, talking about goals. Our goal have to be bigger than our butt, and her passion certainly bigger than her butt.
Yes, significantly. Yes.
Yeah, and it's so interesting though. Craig, on his journey, he met a lot of interesting people, including one of the gentlemen. He is Richard Cohn. I think he is the publisher of The Secret. You remember that at when the Secret come out with the movie, it just turned the publisher Richard Cohn. I think that's his name.
Yes, that's his name.
From bankruptcy to a millionaire.
Yeah, it's an amazing rags to riches story that reminds me of Horatio Alger stories from long ago. And they're if you're a startup entrepreneur and you're into publishing books, you're talking about a very competitive business, and some books are not going to sell as well as others. And so he really. Richard was at a point where he was about to file bankruptcy, and they met with bankruptcy lawyers, and I think the bankruptcy lawyers wanted $30,000 to file their bankruptcy. And that as a former bankruptcy lawyer, that seems like a lot of money to me. But it's amazing to see people decide, wait a minute, I don't have to do this. There is a different way, and it's just a matter of persistence, perseverance. Really finding,
patience. I know
patience.
That's what I'm talking about all the time.
Patience, my friends, patience, right?
Yeah. And then, his journey, I think that it's one of the paragraph that he mentioned that, the success of The Secret, that like it become like the overnight success. And he said the people didn't realize it took him over 20 some years in order for him to have the success that he had success with the Secret.
Yes, it's like Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways to fail before finding the one idea that resulted in electric light that we have today.
So what is the lesson that we learn from there then?
I think it's a matter of really taking the long strategic vision and making sure that that we ignite an internal fire that's strong enough within to keep it burning. And if it starts to flicker out, that we find ways to put more flames in that fire and stay inspired and really focus on the long road, knowing that there will be failures before we achieve success, but that we can fail forward and reach success.
But Jeremy, you and I, we know through our own experience, sometimes it really tough to sustain our effort.
It is.
Because if we go through life and with everything against us, you continue just to put fuels on your fire, or you gather the firewood and to put on that fire. But how can one sustain that? What did you do? What do you have done in your life in order for you to sustain that?
For me, a lot of it is actually the power of visualization. It's I visualize that I have this internal fireplace or hearth, and I try to make sure that every day that fire is still burning. And if it starts to flicker, I seek daily inspiration and motivation sources and make sure that I'm filling my mind with that and keeping that passion burning. Because if that starts to go out, then we sort of lose momentum. And if we lose momentum, we lose a lot. Mm-hmm. Because that momentum, if we're way down the road and we lose momentum, it's like rolling into the ditch.
Yeah, Jeremy, we have the conversation offline some time ago, and we're talking about every new day we have to recommit it to our own vision, our own guide.
Right.
And that is, I'm glad that you visualize, you have the knowledge in order for you to understand the visualization and for you to hang on that visions. Because, every thought goes into your mind, but if you just hold on to that vision, and that, can make the difference. Is that what I hear you?
Yes, the really holding on, visualizing that vision imprinting it in our mind deeply enough and locking that image up so it doesn't go away, revisiting it daily. I mean, those are the types of things, and that's what allows me to hold on and encourage others to hold on against all odds when you feel like you're just on the brink of failure. It's that one extra push that gets us to the finish line, and suddenly we have success, and we wonder how that happened.
Yeah, my father, a very wise man, and I will tell you, when I left Vietnam, and my father, I remember he just leaned against the coconut tree, and then when I got on the canoe and for people to paddle me out into the into the river, and he told me that I must promise him that I live my life until I take my last breath. And that is my promise to my father. I always live as of, that's what I kept my promise to my father. I live my life until I take my last breath. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's what sustained me, that knowing. People think that, what do you know? Because life is so uncertainty. But see, the knowing in my heart, knowing that I must keep survive. I must have a purpose. I truly believe that my Creator have a purpose for me, and until I fulfill that purpose, every obstacles is just like a job training for me. And knowing that I will surpass that, knowing that I will get to where I needed to go by knowing, and I continue to work on that vision. And then when you're talking about a momentum, life is just like every momentum is connecting with each other. I hold on every, first of all, as a movement. And the movement is I want to create a momentum, because with that momentum, I truly believe in the create the monument result, because I'm passionate about that. Because I live my life and committed to that. Because, if I'm willing to trade my life for something, and something, it have to be sizable.
Yes. And I love that you talked about, what is your purpose? I think that's one of the most critical questions in life, is for us all to ask ourselves, what is my chief mission in life? Why am I here? And I think it was Mark Twain that said that there are two most critical days in your life, are the days that you realize, it's realizing what your mission is.
Born and the day you know your purpose.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking of the purpose day, and I can remember if the other day had to do with purpose or not. So thank you for helping me remember that.
No, and that's how true that is. Until you are knowing your purpose, you just a wanderer. You
right.
You're just drifting,
True.
And and that's why I love our segment today, and we're talking about formulating success and passions. Even though you want to separate them, but they are truly connecting and really embedded in each other. And the formulating success without the purpose, without passion, it won't be a success.
Yes,
right?
They're intricately interwoven. You can't really have one without the other. And I mean, without passion, you're not going to achieve success. Success just doesn't happen without effort and commitment and determination and drive and all these things that intersect with passion.
Yeah, and then so if we have to do the recap on this segment, and that we were talking about do what you're good, do what you love, what you're good at, with the right people and with the right action.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yes, that is fair. Yes, and that really focusing on some of that might be the process of elimination. I mean, we might list 10 passions on one side of paper and 10 talents on the other side, and narrow it down to the one or two that are the strongest, and then find ways to weave them together.
What you said is right, because when I said, okay, what is your passion? I said, oh, this is 1, 2, 3, and I can list about 10 of them. But, and because it's what we love, because
Right.
we just don't really love only one. We love many.
Very true.
So I write it
Yes.
down. But again, I have to really shift and to really prioritize them and what the passion we're talking about, what is the most that we passionate about.
Right.
Because we just cannot love one thing. We are not that narrow people. We love a lot of stuff. And your talent.
Great point. Yes.
Yeah, and talent. We certainly, through our journey, if live as many years as us, we certainly accumulate a few talents, something that we can good at it. But again, we have to looking into what we good, what we do best, in order for us to continue to do what we do best.
Exactly. And sometimes it's someone tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hey, you're really good at this. You should do something with it. And because sometimes we don't, we feel like, oh, I can't do that. But if several people start telling us, hey, this looks like this is maybe one of your chief talents. Maybe you're a good listener and you want to do something with that. There aren't enough people that listen well in the world. That's a significant gift that needs to be taught to people. It's a skill that needs to be strengthened.
Jeremy, I can answer for that. When somebody, you're good at something and you have a talent for that and you don't recognize it until people tell you, because it's something that's naturally for you to do that. You don't think that
You're
is,
right.
and then that what really best, because you do without any effort, you effortless. And when people point it out, you should pay attention, right?
That's very true. When we're at that point, that's when we're in a flow state and things happen easily, because that's what we're on fire for. That's what gets us all excited and gets us up in the morning. People talk about what makes you get out of bed in the morning. Well, it's what I'm passionate about, helping people in whatever way I can, move obstacles out of their way and achieve success.
Jeremy, you just speak the language, the music in my ear when you talk about the flow, because when you do something, that means you're on, you're on the go. You are
Right.
there. You do it without any effort, without thinking about it, because it becomes a part of you. And that is the best talent there is. And
Right.
we talk about associations. As attorney, at one time you have association that have to do with law, but now you are a runner, you are a coach, and you certainly have you adapt and a new association, right? So that
Yes.
every band, every chunk, any destination, every station that we have a different thing, not because we are entire different people and we change. But when we at some place, we see things differently, and therefore you have a different association as well, and as well as the action.
Yes, and if we need to recognize that if we have creativity and we're boxing it up and we're not sharing it in the world, we're making a big mistake. And I had a realization with this in my own life, that I had a passion for writing, and I was doing legal writing and I wasn't enjoying it. But once I started writing as a running blogger, I found that suddenly I had creative energy and excitement that hadn't been there before, and my heart moved that direction. And I realized I have to write. I have to write frequently, and I have to get these thoughts out and share them with the world, because they can help thousands of people maybe.
Wow, I love that, Jeremy. I kind of like, the more I understand, the better. I really appreciate you, because you really follow your heart. You really follow your passion, and that is, your heart and your passion know the way. So just follow it and faithfully, and just go with the flow. Just get there. Okay, so next week, what are we talking about next week?
Let's see. Next week we're talking about stop planning. We have a preoccupation in modern life with planning and over planning and making lists on top of lists. Well, this is going to be about the contrarian chapter of don't over plan.
When we're talking about that, Dwight Eisenhower, he said that the plan sometimes useless, but the planning is priceless.
Oh, great quote.
Yeah, and I think that is next week will be very fun, and that the chapter that have make a stop and think, stop planning. I mean, I when you tell me stop planning, just like you told me to sit on my hands, because I'm a planner. But anyway, we will unfold more, and we will talk about that next week. Stop planning. That is on the episode number 6.
Episode number 6, covering chapter 8 of 3 Feet from Gold. Yes. And I'll give you one more glimpse of the success formula in case you're watching it and you want to write it down.
And
yeah, variables. So write it down. Think about it. Take a screenshot.
Jimmy, it is fun. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
enjoy it too.
More though. Just like it's so interesting. When you know somebody, but until they reveal more, it just thank you. I'm very honored to know you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the wisdom and experience that you share with the world. It's very powerful and transformative. It's helping. You're helping more people than you realize.
Thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for today.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.